And then they couldn't put dwarfs because this is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
Let's jump back to Maher because he talked about on Real Time that there's this interesting thing happening right now with Snow White. We're going to show a couple clips about Snow White here because Snow White, they recreated it. You know, Disney's gone woke. As I keep telling you guys, even though a lot of the woke stuff is disappearing, the way Hollywood works, the way books are written, the way movies are made, TV shows are made, there's stuff, they call it in the can. That's the industry phrase, meaning they make things that, 2 years ago that take a long time to get out. So even though woke in some sense feels like it's dead, it still has to run its course through the system. The ghosts have to get out of the machine in essence. So here's Maher talking about what's going on with Snow White, and it involves dwarfs. So this is just fun. Here you go.
The controversies surrounding Disney's Snow White remake show that we are still in the thick of the culture wars. Oh, have we been following the Snow White?
Actually, the first time hearing of this.
Really?
No. Yeah.
Okay.
Good for you.
Well, the two stars are Gal Gadot,
before you,
who she was in the Israeli Defense Forces. She's Israeli, and then Rachel Zegler plays Snow White. I think Gal plays the. I was not a child, so I don't follow them. I don't know fairy tales. I never read comic books. But something is this the one with the poison apple and the whatever it is?
Yes, the words.
Okay, so they're in, and Rachel Zegler, being 23 or whatever she is, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantata is the only global solution. So the two stars hate each other, and then they couldn't put dwarfs because this is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive. You'd think the most progressive thing would be get people jobs, and dwarfs want to work. And honest
golden employment opportunity for dwarves.
There's not that many scripts that come down the pike.
No, there's 7 of them.
That has, and there's 7 dwarf jobs here. But because I think it was Peter Dinklage said this is, this is not right. This is demeaning. And they were like, what? We just want to work. We're dwarves. So, ho, ho, ho. Anyway.
Well, here's actually Rachel Zegler, who is the new Snow White, and she's talking about Snow White being woke.
Can you tell us a little bit about your version of Snow White?
Yeah, I mean, Snow White is the girl you remember, but she's definitely made for the modern age, and there's such an emphasis on what it really means to be the fairest of them all. And for Snow White, it's coming to terms with finding herself and finding her inner voice and finding a sense of agency so that she can be a just ruler and a wonderful queen, because there's another one in town.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because, we cast a guy in the movie. Right. Andrew Burnap, great dude. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's how.
And you wonder why people are turning from this stuff in droves, right? Like that the original Prince was stalking her. I don't even really remember what Snow White was about either. The midgets gangbanged her, whatever it was. It was a wholesome family film, and now they've turned it into woke trash. Check this out from Men Wokeness. Disney's Snow White said that harm should befall Trump and his voters. Do not see this film. And this is obviously an image that she put up. I think this is from Instagram. She wrote, Rachel Zegler, this is the girl who plays Snow White. I find myself speechless in the midst of this. Another 4 years of hatred, leaning us towards a world I do not want to live in, leaning us towards a world that will be hard to raise my daughter in, leaning us toward a world that will force her to have a baby she doesn't want, leading us towards a world that is fearful. I shouldn't be shocked, but I am. I am heartbroken for my friends who awoke fear this morning. I am here with you to cry, to yell, to hug, to wax poetic on how the left continues to fail us in forging a new path forward. This loss should not have been, and it certainly should not have been by so many votes. I echo Ethel Kane's statement more than anything. May Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace. So she's basically a violent, hysterical lunatic who wants to kill babies. She's very concerned that her daughter will have to give birth to a child, which generally grandmothers think is a fantastic thing for their daughters. I don't think Trump is doing any forced impregnations, although I was in an MRI machine this morning, so maybe I missed something. But you get it. It's just, why are the worst people constantly empowered in our society? It is going away, but it doesn't go away overnight. We got a bit more on what's going on with Snow White, because it is failing, because people do not fall for this nonsense. Tweet from Eric Daughtry, just in, an enormous cultural failure, Disney's Snow White, which cost $250 million to produce, raked in a miserable $43 million during its premiere, and that's from the AP. Other Disney remakes in the same amount of time: Lion King did $1.6 billion, Cinderella $67.9 million, Dumbo $46 million. And you can see people just don't want to be bludgeoned. Imagine, I don't know if any of the Disney people are watching the program today, but imagine if you guys just made entertainment sake for the sake of entertaining. Could you do that? The globalists never stop. Now they're pushing airborne vaccines. No needles, no permission, just exposure. The last administration quietly funded grants for aerosol vaccines, a delivery system that could infect us without consent. Watch this. Millions were forced into the mRNA psyop, and cases of myocarditis, blood clots, and immune damage have skyrocketed. 8 states are in the process of banning these shots. The Trump administration needs to make sure this tyranny hasn't been released on the public. Dr. Peter McCullough and the Wellness Company created Ultimate Spike Detox with 4 times the nattokinase plus bromelain and curcumin to help break down spike proteins and support your body's natural recovery. Experience the only formula approved and used by Dr. Peter McCullough, a top freedom-fighting cardiologist who risked it all. So head over to twc.health/Rubin and use code Rubin to get 15% off plus free shipping. Again, that's twc.health/Rubin and use code Rubin to get 15% off plus free shipping. Get back to that pre-COVID feeling.